Let me ask you something, Dom. Was it what last night? Was it just not thinking, or was it really just that you couldn't see me do well? You just had to make sure to send me 6 feet deep and bury me. What was it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna just tweet bet results at this point on the threads. I think. Yeah, uh, you try to give a guy love, and you end up being shooting him down.
Yeah,
That was tough.
yeah,
At least Jack didn't lose outright. Thank goodness.
right. Should I should I next time remind you for like a fifth time to not jinx me?
Sure, I'll see what I can do.
This is the it's tough being the guy in the front seat when you're the one that's tweeting out the results, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the weight of the world's on your shoulders.
It's when you do something that I don't like, I tear you down. But when you do good things, I never give you credit. I'm
That's
like
just
the
fun.
word. It's like I'm like your. It's like a boss thing, like boss dynamic. It's like God, I hate my fucking boss.
I literally watching that fight was like, okay, I really hope Jack doesn't actually lose this because I'm gonna feel genuinely so bad. Like,
Oh,
holy
it's
smokes.
I was watching that. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty mad last night. Because then when Holly lost, like I was more so just mad at the situation, not the actual tweet. I was mad that I was literally looking at a perfect night
Yeah,
and then ended up negative. Like 3 units,
I know
two
the
units on
try to
Holly.
really get different with your unit sizing, and it happens like that. The MMA betting gods, it's a hard world. It
It
is.
was, and of course, people on Twitter were giving me like this, like, because in my head, I'm like, okay, that feels like a 29-28 Jack. That's what it felt like to me.
I would agree. As someone
Which,
that didn't have a
even
bet,
if all three scored it that way, that's not enough because I had the minus three and
yeah,
a half.
his spread.
But then I had people on Twitter saying, I don't know, there was a 10-8 maybe in that third round. It could be a 29-27. And I'm like, oh my God, please, just one judge. One
Well,
judge.
yeah.
And then that one judge was like, actually, it's 29-28 for a guy named Bassil. And I'm like, oh my God. No, but welcome back, everybody, to Below Average Joe's MMA show.
He's
We're
struggling.
here. Yeah, we're here. It's a recap. No, let's just wipe that from our memory. Looking ahead, although we'll have to come back to it later. We do have a point in the show where we
Yeah.
talk about it. So I'll probably rehash some of this, but it's good to be back here with you, Dominic. Even though our brotherhood, our friendship has probably been tested the most in the last 24
I've
hours.
seen brighter days.
I still love you, but it's like that meme of the guy pointing a gun and he's got the tear in his eye. That's what I felt like. Like I felt like last night, if you'd been in front of me, I would have killed you, but I would have also felt really bad about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been happy about it. But
Yeah.
anyways, UFC Vegas 125. We're here to recap it. We got some news to talk about, fight announcements. And Dominic, you know what? To kind of get the spirits going in the right direction, I think it might be a good time to kind of tell the people about some of the content change coming to the channel. Is that
Mm.
think that's fair to do? Do you think
Start,
we've kind of yeah,
sprinkling it in.
we've kind of hashed it out a little bit. So after we come back from Nashville, which of course the UFC Nashville card, um, could the date? I don't want to give a firm date, but
But after
sometime after that Nashville trip, our content's going to change just ever so slightly. So it's still going to be the same way you're looking at it now. We'll still be in the studio. We'll still be doing kind of our normal thing, except what we really wanted to do for YouTube, especially, is to be able to get out content more frequently, quicker, and
yeah,
make it shorter for people because I think that's more that's gonna be more what the YouTube audience is going to be looking for. I think
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, that's what you find on YouTube. Shorter form content, more frequent,
Yeah.
and this is also just to help with, like, we talk about news on here a lot. And how great would it be when Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury gets announced on a Tuesday that we don't have to wait till Thursday to talk about it? We can hop on a studio, do a 20-minute video on it, and have it out Wednesday.
Yep.
So that's the goal here. However, if you are someone that prefers that long form
All at once.
podcast,
Yeah.
type content, the same way we've been doing it, the weekend previews, weekend
Yeah.
recaps, you can still get it in that form. You'll
Yep.
just need to follow us on Spotify, on Apple, at the Below Average Joe's MMA show. Same, branding and stuff as we have on here. Um, on there, what we'll do is whatever videos are put out from, I guess it would be Monday through Thursday, will
Mm-hmm.
be kind of
The preview.
compiled together into that Friday preview, and then everything from Friday through Sunday would
Yep.
be compiled into the weekend recap. And we would have like some recordings that would maybe be a little different than what you would normally get. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
see over there. We'll still put an intro in. We'll still
Yeah. We're gonna try
do
and make it
closing
flow.
statements. Yeah, we want to make it flow. So this is just a way to kind of give everybody the kind of content that they are going to want
Yeah.
based off of where they're watching at. And then on social media, I highly recommend you follow us over there: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at the BAJ MMA. Over there, that's where probably the Blazin Bets segment will start to live. We'll probably be more so like social media heavy on that, like it's sort of been, but we probably won't talk about it too much on here since we'll be doing things a little differently. But on Twitter, we'll definitely be going harder on that. We've also been doing a lot of stuff on TikTok, trying to do some MMA trivia, for the UFC cards and whatnot. So all good stuff. Also, this is something that maybe not sure if it's worth mentioning now or not, but we want to kind of try to use Twitter Spaces more often, or at least
Mm-hmm.
better our use of it. And the way we're going to do that is for the cards that require, some of our, last weekend, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Dominic, how great would it be to be able to get in a studio, like a Twitter Space, right after
Mm-hmm.
and do an instant reaction to the card. People can join, they can talk and give their thoughts, they can submit questions.
Yeah.
And that allows us to just kind of deep dive the card, go over a lot of these things that you would maybe normally see in our weekend recap, but it allows more engagement from the audience, more input from the audience and whatnot. So that's something that if we're able to do it, we're going to try to do for some of
Mm-hmm.
those bigger cards. Don't think we would have done it last night for Holm versus Bueno Silva. But
Right.
Dominic, did I kind of cover everything there? Anything you wanted to add?
That's pretty much the general gist. It's exciting.
Okay, that got me in good spirits. That got me feeling a little better.
Good.
But unfortunately, we do have to talk about the bets at some point, and then that's just going to come crashing down again. But
Of course.
Dominic, without further ado, let's get into our main event from UFC, whatever I said at the beginning, where Mayra Bueno Silva gets the second round submission of Holly Holm. She does it 38 seconds into that second round, Dominic. This fight was it was kind of an interesting one. Like it felt like, even though Holly Holm took that first round pretty easily, or I don't know if you can say easily, but she took it. She looked good in the first round. She was staying on her bike, using a lot of footwork, doing her normal blitzing combinations, clinching Bueno Silva. Looked like she had a good first round. But yet, Dominic, I went into that second round before it even started. I didn't feel that great about it. Like I just felt like what Bueno Silva was doing here, she was really waiting for her moment. She was waiting to find that opening. She was walking down Holly the whole time. Holly was landing a lot higher volume, but the actual damage was not necessarily being inflicted. Meanwhile, like the only shot Bueno Silva landed clean in the first round seemed to have Holly um, at least somewhat hurt. It was a
Thanks.
loud shot. Yeah. So round two, Holly tries to clinch Bueno Silva up, leaves her neck open, gets caught in the ninja choke, which just shows the kind of jujitsu practitioner we're dealing with in Bueno Silva. But I'll ask you, Dominic. Obviously, this fight only went 5 minutes, 38 seconds. Not a ton to necessarily say about the fight itself. But what does this win do for you in your evaluation of Mayra Bueno Silva, which I believe is very relevant now, right now, considering the vacant bantamweight title for the women?
Yeah, I mean, I was someone that was a fan of Mayra, and I came in on Friday though and made it clear that I just didn't see how she could, beat Holly. I felt I bet on her, Noah bet on her. Like, we felt confident in Holly, and it wasn't even a slight necessarily toward Mayra. I just didn't see the route to victory. But she was able to withstand the striking, land big shots as well, like Noah said. Really came on strong to finish that first round, and it felt like a tide was teetering on turning, not completely turning, but you kind of see like, okay, maybe Mayra can hang in there. And then it literally took 38 seconds, and she locks in that crazy ninja choke, a modified standing guillotine. Shout out to her Brazilian counterpart, Jessica Andrade. You don't see many standing submission victories, and those two ladies have both done it. 4 straight wins, 3 in a row by submission. You just beat a former champion, a 27-time title challenger. Mayra Bueno Silva absolutely should be one half of the vacant bantamweight title fight, Noah. I truthfully think that, and it's not just a recency bias off of a Holly Holm win. It's what she's doing to put together. She's finishing people, which no one else is doing. She's a fresh face, really the only fresh face in this entire 135-pound division. I don't see any rhyme or reason. I know Juliana and Rocky are there and they're fresh in terms of, where their calendars are lining up, but one of them has to be scratched. Mayra Bueno Silva needs to be fighting in the vacant title fight.
Yeah, I can kind of get behind that. She seems to have the most momentum, and that is a bit of recency bias for me to say that. But I think that this win, being that it was a main event, even if it was a card that everybody was kind of crapping on, I think she comes out looking pretty good here. You kind of got the gist. Like, I kind of tell when they were filming her walking in, she kind of had the swagger, she kind of had the style going on. Kind of get a sense that she is sort of buying into it. Like, she's sort of believing that, okay, I'm not just trying to be, a great fighter. I'm not just trying to showcase my skills. I think I get a sense that she's really trying to, believe in herself as more than that.
Yeah.
And that's something that is can be very powerful. That self-belief that you can be not just a great fighter in the UFC, but you can be the best in the world at your division and kind of walk around and act like it. So I thought there was some hints of that there, some sprinkles of Mayra Bueno Silva really embracing that, I thought, during this broadcast. So I can get behind it. I guess my question for you, Dominic, would be which of those two ladies would you scrap from it? Would you take out Juliana Pena or Raquel Pennington? Now, I think the knee-jerk reaction or the part of you that says, well, I want to give it based off who's earned it the most, you probably scrap Juliana Pena. She's the one coming off a loss. Yeah. Raquel Pennington has the longer win streak, But is Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva really the way you want to get this division reignited into its next generation?
Yeah, I feel like if I had to guess today or bet on it today, you know what I mean, it will be Juliana that gets that second spot. Someone that is a former champion, beat Amanda, yes, lost the second fight. But even you look at those aside, the accolades per se, she is the main character, if you will, of the 135-pound division. There's not a lot of people making noise. Not that her noise is all that loud, but she is making noise when she's in the crowd and having these sound bites that come from her yelling on the camera or at a press conference. And it's enough that get people talking about her. So when you factor that into her having a win over Amanda, being a champion, I feel like that will be the fight that happens, is Juliana versus Mayra Bueno Silva, a fresh face versus someone who's been there but still newer compared to a lot of these other girls, including Raquel Pennington. I'd feel about 95% confident that that'll be what it is.
I think there'd be some fun lead up to that fight.
I think so.
Pena's really embraced being this villain as of late, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are kind of shitting on her for it, but I think she's getting people talking about her, and that's that's a very powerful thing. And that's a big reason, Dominic, why I believe you and a lot of people out there are going to pick her over Raquel Pennington in that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? Like, if
100%.
Juliana had the same personality and talking ability as Raquel Pennington, you would easily pick Raquel Pennington in a heartbeat because of the win streak and the momentum she has. So Juliana Pena is doing a good thing for herself by, no matter what anybody thinks of it, no matter on its surface, is it ridiculous? Yeah, a lot of what she's saying is ridiculous. But I'm like, hey, fucking go for it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what you have to do in the sport. I am, and I think Mayra Bueno Silva would be game for that kind of lead up as well. You know, did you see the face off with Holly Holm? She kind of was. She was talking a little shit in there.
She's a bit of a character too.
Yeah.
Like you said,
she fights. She fights with a lot of emotion. Like if you remember, when she got that submission, was that against Stephanie Egger? I think it was.
Okay.
When she got that submission, when I went back and watched it, I forgot about this fight. Dominic Egger was kind of up against the fence, and Mayra Bueno Silva believed she felt Egger tap.
That was
when the ref couldn't see it, and Egger, when the fight was stopped, it was real weird. Egger didn't really come out and say like, "Yes, I tapped," you know.
Yeah.
And Bueno Silva was like crying in the cage because she felt like she was robbed of like a big moment for her, even though she still got the win. She still was, sort of cleared of any wrongdoing there, but she was like really emotional about it. So she does fight with a lot of fire. I still worry about some of the limitations, mostly the volume in her striking. Here it worked out that she was able to catch Holly in that submission in round 2. But if this fight would have continued, even if she landed a good shot per round, Holly was out landing her volume-wise big time. So unless she could really maximize the damage done with those individual shots she was landing per round, I think at this fight went on, it was going to be hard for her to have a lot of rounds in her favor.
Yeah.
And then a bigger problem, Dominic, is she is so good at submissions. And again, she caught Holly in a standing ninja choke. But Dominic, she's great off her back. But in terms of getting the fight there, she averages less than half a takedown per 15 minutes in the octagon. She's not someone that's going for single leg and double legs and dragging people to the ground in order to implement that kind of jiu-jitsu, game. So I do kind of wonder how she would fare against like a Juliana or a Raquel Pennington. But it's hard to look at this performance and not say that it was a big step for her and she passed the test. And to be honest, though, Dominic, like I just wonder even a Juliana Pena versus Mayra Bueno Silva, I still sit here and go like, is that really the fight to, I know if you look at who's there right now, it's like who else are you going to do? Dominic, I still can't help but sit here and go like, UFC have to be wanting Ronda Rousey back big time. Now, I know I will mention something about this later. Chelsea Chandler did talk about during fight week that she had heard Ronda might be coming back to women's featherweight. I mean, that just came out of
clearly the reason they did her and Norma at featherweight.
Yeah, but like that division, Dana said after Amanda retired at UFC 289, he said in the post-fight presser, that division, he's like, I think it'd be best if it was done.
Yeah.
Why are we still having fights go on here in that division? But that's a topic for the rest. I just am here to say, like, they gotta try to get Ronda in here because Dominic, if you put Ronda Rousey at UFC 300 against a Juliana Pena, a Raquel Pennington, a Mayra Bueno Silva, and they beat Ronda.
Yeah.
I mean, what a rub that would be. Think of like when Ronda got smashed by Amanda Nunes, what that did for Nunes,
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying Ronda wouldn't win, but I'm not sure if I'd favor her considering how long she's been out. It seems unrealistic, but the more these rumors keep coming out, and yes, I know the Rousey camp is denying them to Ariel Helwani. I don't believe it. UFC 300 is right around the corner. Who would have ever thought Brock Lesnar would come back for UFC 200, considering his bout with diverticulitis and how he was currently in the WWE? I've heard it on good authority by the people that people that are really into WWE. They say she is gone. She's leaving after SummerSlam, which I believe is coming up soon. Dominic, I believe, is coming back. I believe it in my heart. I think she will be back. It will be UFC 300. And I still think it's going to be for that vacant bantamweight title. But I will entertain in the rest portion this featherweight rumor. But Dominic, anything you want to kind of respond to that with? Like, are you still kind of like, look, that's just Brock Lesnar was one thing. This is crazy. No, like
I know, like if
you need to wake up. Wake up. Is that what you're saying?
It would be big. I still am very skeptical. I can't see it happening, but if it did, it's huge. Obviously, it's one of the biggest stars you've ever had, a pioneer. What she's done for women's MMA is crazy. So even if it's not for a long time, it'd be for a good time, win or lose. And at the end of the day, I feel like the storyline hidden behind that is it does something for this division, and nothing has been done for this division in a very long time since, really, Ronda was here last time when Amanda beat her and got that huge rub, like Noah said. So we want to see this division keep going, keep evolving, keep moving. One way to do that, you bring back the former queen of this division for many, many moons and title defenses. Noah's crazy, but not that crazy, guys. Not that crazy.
When you look into it. Anyways, let's move on to the rest of UFC San Diego 48.
Oh, it's been too long.
So Dominic, co-main event. Jack Della Maddalena decided to stay in Vegas after losing two opponents last week. He was originally supposed to fight Sean Brady at International Fight Week. I forget who replaced him. It was a guy from Ohio who ended up having that serious
the brain
condition. So they kind of saved him there, which thankfully so. But he said he wanted to fight. He was staying in Vegas. So he comes in, he makes a second weight cut in 2 weeks, and he takes on the newcomer, Bassil Hafez. And Dominic, this ended up being a great fight. I mean, what a war between these two. And I think Bassil deserves a lot of praise here. I mean, to take this fight on this short of notice and to nearly eke out this victory. I mean, I saw a lot of people online saying they scored this fight for Hafez. And while I don't necessarily agree, I don't see how you cannot keep this guy in the UFC for. You got to give him like a 4-fight deal after this. I mean, he showed he belonged. He was strong. He had great wrestling, and even as he was getting rocked, like in round 3, where it seemed like he was out, he still kind of found a way to keep himself alive in this fight to get to those scorecards. For Jack, not going to be like a fight that this is not going to be something on his highlight reel. I don't think, it's not for a guy that's supposed to be one of the biggest prospects in the UFC. This is not some moment of, I don't know. This is not like a, raise your arms in victory type moment. It feels more like a moral victory for Bassil than it does, like the actual victory for Jack. Obviously, there's caveats here, 2 weight cuts. There's taking the short notice opponent. It might be that Bassil's just really that good. But for Jack, I still think the future's bright. I think he will come back stronger from this. A lot of people are now speculating on how that fight with Sean Brady would have went, considering what Bassil did with the wrestling.
I saw that.
It's like, well, he was supposed to fight him a week ago on the first weight cut. Like, let's not speculate too much. And, for Sean Brady, I understand his wrestling is great, but he kind of did get outstruck by Michael Chiesa and got knocked out by Bilal Muhammad. So I'm just saying, let's not pretend like Jack didn't have an advantage in that fight too. That's what made that fight so interesting. And
Yeah,
truthfully, I'd like to see it get run back. I think
I
after
think
this,
that's the fight to do.
I respect Jack for taking this fight, but obviously it's not one that's going to push him forward. But I think you rebooked the Sean Brady fight. I want to see it even more now, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like it makes more sense. And, to that point where it's not like this performance you're going to remember. If anything, there might be people with negative takeaways. I feel like you add in all those factors, it's kind of just one of those things where we got a crazy fight. The one thing, though, that stood out was pulling of the guard trying to get the guillotine. That was like the only thing that was like fight IQ wise was a bit of a red flag for Jack. His corner screaming at him not to do it, and he still did it. I don't know, 3 or 4 times, which ended up getting Bassil on top of him for the rest of those rounds. So that's my only like nitpick on it. I mean, I'm obviously a huge JDM fan. We've talked about him ever since his Contender Series win. So if there's one thing to say, it was that. But everything else, the war of attrition, both these guys, how they even went for 15 minutes is beyond me. The 2 weight cuts in a week. I mean, it was just a crazy war that I don't think a lot of people expected to see.
Yeah, very true. Dominic, the rest of this card, where else would you like to go? What else would you like to give a little shine to?
Yeah, I feel like it started so slow and then really picked up
Yeah.
as the night went on, especially the main card. How about we go to 21-year-old Francisco Prado out of Argentina, dude? This guy, I think 12 wins now, all 12 by finish. He finished Ottman Azaitar. Do we still, by the way, ever know what was in the bag? Anyway, let
They
us know.
said potatoes. That was
Potatoes. Okay.
right. Which
Makes
to doesn't that make sense to sneak that into
Yeah, on
Abu
a
Dhabi
balcony.
to scale multiple buildings like for some
Yeah.
potatoes? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they must have been some damn good potatoes. But this was a good fight. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be fun. A lot of people knew it was going to end early. And Prado gets the win. He had his first fight against Jamie Malarkey earlier this year and went the distance with him. 12-1 at such a young age. Another market that is, it was spearheaded by Ponzinibbio multiple years ago. Since then, after his injuries, there hasn't been a ton of talent. 2 Argentinians get victories here on this card, and I'm going to keep my eyes out for Prado. I know he's super young. There's a lot still to be built upon, but he's a fun young fighter right now, and it's worth note. So it was a fun fight and a great finish.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be very interesting to see how this went because he did give Jamie Malarkey a pretty tough fight. I believe he took that on very short notice too, and he was 20 years old at the time when he took it. So he comes in 21, can barely buy. He's still getting carded the drink and barely passing that test. And Ottman Azaitar was at least 10 years his senior. I think he was like 12 years his senior.
Yeah,
and Azaitar hits like a truck. But Prado showed a lot of toughness in his fight with Malarkey. That's why I kind of avoided this fight. I ended up jumping on. I think it was under 2.5 on one of my parlays. So we'll talk about that. But for Azaitar, man, just a little too reckless sometimes. Yeah. Although the here was just a perfectly timed shot, to be honest with you. Like that spinning elbow was crazy.
It was sick.
Crazy timing on that. Like I don't even know how you defend there. Azaitar's still a lot of fun, but Prado in the lightweight division, it's hard. It's hard to really know because it's such a gauntlet.
Yeah,
but I definitely think we'll see with a couple more fights where he's standing. But if at 21 years old, Dominic, this guy has a long time to be to be starting in the UFC at this age. It's risky.
Yeah, it is.
God, I mean, shout out to Nazim Sadykhov on this comeback win over Terrance McKinney. I hate it for my dude T-Rex. I like him a lot, but Sadykhov seems legit. Again, another lightweight guy.
Yeah.
Like he's 3-0 now, or maybe he's 2-0 in the UFC and then won his Contender Series bout. But for Terrance McKinney, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Did you see the way his arm was trapped, dude?
Yeah, that was just unfortunate.
Yeah.
But Sadykhov seems legit. I like him a lot. He had that great fight with Evan Elder a few months ago, and that was the one that Elder, it became a TKO stoppage due to a cut. So for Sadykhov, he's proven that he can do it early, he can do it late, he can do it with the knockout, he can do it with the submission. I like him a lot. And I'll also mention this ended up being a very weird card, by the way, Dominic, because
women's fights especially.
yeah, we started with Eileen Perez and Ashley Evans Smith. Eileen Perez twerking all over the octagon. Ashley Evans Smith giving her the biggest credit card swipe I've ever seen, just digging in that crack, man.
Yeah.
What else did we have that was weird on this card? Well, then you had Estela Nunez.
Man. Oh man.
It was so Dominic just had a tough night with the tweeting. Right before this fight. Dominic's always doing good stuff on the Twitter, always trying to get people to engage and interact. And he's like, hey, first 5 fights or whatever went to a decision. Who's going to get the first finish of the night? Trying to engage the community. And then like 38 seconds later, Estela Nunez's arm. She had to hold it. I mean, it looks like it was a clean separation. Am I saying that right? Dislocation. It was a clean. It was a clean dislocation, which I think that's if you're gonna have that injury, like I think that's a good thing. Like I think it's good. It wasn't like a forearm break, like on the bone.
Mm-hmm.
So and then Dana posted that they were able to put it back in. So hopefully the recovery won't be as long as it looked from seeing it. But then you had the women's featherweight bout: Norma Dumont, Chelsea Chandler. Chelsea Chandler, why are you running? Why are you running?
Oh my gosh! You put that video, and I'm like, that's so perfect. I didn't even
crazy.
think about that.
That was a crazy moment.
She ran right into the fence.
I think on the broadcast they tried to say that she was rocked and she ran to kind of keep herself, like she was running toward the fence because she's like, oh shit, I'm about to go down. I need to keep myself standing.
Yeah.
But it was just so weird to watch.
Never seen anything like it.
And considering the heat these two had after their weigh-ins, Chelsea Chandler did not look like UFC caliber here to me. The head movement wasn't there. Norma Dumont's good, don't get me wrong. Most wins in UFC featherweight history now, women's featherweight history.
Yeah, that's true.
I saw a funny tweet from Chuck Mendenhall. He's always tweeting funny stuff, but he said, hey, I've said it before. Norma Dumont is the best women's featherweight to fight in summer 2023. I'm telling you guys.
Is she the uncrowned women's featherweight champion after last night?
She said she called for a title shot, Dominic. And look, I'm going to entertain. I already talked about Ronda Rousey.
Okay.
But you have to wonder what are we doing here? Why are we still
technically 2 ranked bantamweights and they fought at featherweight? Right. So why?
So why? Why? What? Dana said the division was it's probably good that we just end it, right?
Yeah.
Why are we still getting a women's featherweight fight here? So that there's got to be a reason. And you put this fight on the main card when this feels like a clear curtain jerker.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Dominic. UFC 300.
Ronda's fighting somebody.
Ronda Rousey versus Norma Dumont for the vacant women's featherweight title. Ronda's fighting somebody on that card.
I think she's fighting twice that night, both belts.
I think she's fighting for both belts. I think so, because I will entertain either possibility. And I know like people are going to be watching this and like, dude, can this dude stop sucking off Ronda? Like, please. And like, I promise I'm really not like that big of like a Ronda guy.
Yeah.
But I just it's because I don't hear a lot of people like seriously entertaining the possibility.
You want to be that guy.
I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Just like I did with the Jamahal Hill Izzy thing, which I think Dominic, considering updates on that, I don't believe we will see that fight by Halloween. Maybe I was just a year off. Maybe Halloween 2024.
There you go.
But yeah, that fight kind of sucked. But, it was worth talking about for that reason. Anything else, Dominic, on this card?
That's, more to talk about, I feel like, than we expected coming in. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
All in all.
Evan Elder, Genaro Valdez, also a great fight. So
yeah.
Evan Elder is just always in scraps.
Yeah. And Valdez, bro. Like, can he get hurt? There was like 15 knockdowns in that fight, and they went the distance somehow. I don't know how it happened, but it was
tough. With that, let's move on to some of the news, Dominic. aptly titled The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because as we go, this just gets worse and worse. But we'll start with a little fun one here. The UFC announces, actually probably should have been on our last preview or recap or whatever, but the UFC announced during International Fight Week stuff that GSP will make his return to competition at UFC Fight Pass Invitational on December 14th. No opponent has been announced, but some of the names that are being targeted are pretty big names in the UFC. Dominic, is this something, I know we're not two guys that tend to watch these kind of events. We're not necessarily watching a lot of submission grappling. Would you watch here?
Yeah, I think so. I think I sent this to my dad, or dad found it and sent it to me after we heard about it on the broadcast. And I said, yeah, this is cool. They actually do some fun events sometimes. I wish I watched it more. So maybe this can kind of help me get into it more. I think it would be fun. It's like once a month or a couple of times. Like Anthony Smith and Glover just did one. So I'd like to get back into it, or get into it in general. Maybe this could be the one. It's cool that GSP is going to do something for him. And I think they're going to try and get someone relatively big. I know he shut down Khabib for sure.
Yeah, I'm disappointed about that one. The shutdown of Khabib.
Who's like a name you think would be fun? Like, what if we finally got him and Anderson, at least in that capacity? Would that be fun for you?
Right. Oh, that would. I mean, it would be, but Anderson would probably. I don't know if Anderson would do too well in submission grappling with GSP. What were some of the names being thrown out there? Did you see some of those? Didn't they say? Did I see right? Colby Covington was one of the names thrown out there.
That could be interesting.
That would be interesting. Him and Usman would be interesting.
Ooh, that would be really cool.
Although if you're talking about, Usman, I don't know what his submissions are like because he's never really see it in the UFC.
True.
But yeah, like maybe one of those two, like so kind of that new age versus old age type deal. Yeah,
I feel like they gotta have options. People
there was a list of names that were being targeted, and they were all pretty big. I thought Colby was on there. Maybe Usman was. Get him versus Hamzat.
Him and Hamzat submission grappling. That would be nuts.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. But I thought this was fun. I don't know if I'll watch it. I think I will if like there's nothing else really going on and I happen to be home. I don't see myself necessarily being like, no, I need to block off my guessing Saturday to watch this. I'll be fully upfront about that. I enjoy it. Like our buddy does like jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I think that like they're very fun to watch, especially if you're like in person. But I can't say I'm going to go out of my way for this.
Right. That's fair.
The next one, Kevin Lee, Dominic, did announce his retirement from MMA. This definitely makes me look silly because Dominic basically said this, and I acted like he might still have a whole UFC run in him, but he makes probably the right decision here and retires. Had a very good career. It definitely is a career that I think we can look back on now and go, the expectations that we had for Kevin Lee definitely made it look like a disappointment, but I think what we got from him was a lot of good, a lot of even at times great, but fought for an interim title. Like he did a lot, but unfortunate to see him go. Dominic, your thoughts?
It's just crazy. What is he, 30 years old? As Noah just mentioned, all those kind of the weird career and the injuries to his knees and wrestling his entire life. It's crazy how this sport moves, and it's ruthless, man. Shout out to ruthless Robbie Lawler. He was able to go out on top last week, and then we see the same for Kevin Lee, not so much. It's just crazy how it works. I hope the best for him, though. I'm sure he'll have some ventures being that young. He's very charismatic. I wouldn't be surprised if he even makes a comeback at some point, to be quite honest with you. But right now, I think it's the right decision to make. Maybe he can do some collabs with his brother. They could do some sort of food MMA collaborations and videos and whatnot. He's going to do something fun, I bet.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I saw on TikTok this morning that Sean Strickland clip from his podcast with Chris Curtis, and he was saying that Keith Lee is a racist. So,
okay,
very reputable source.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Last one here, Jamahal Hill, Dominic. This one's just, what are we doing here? He is relinquishing his UFC light heavyweight title due to suffering a ruptured Achilles. And Dominic, this was suffered during that basketball game held during International Fight Week.
Yeah.
A lot of people talking about how this division feels cursed ever since John Jones left.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate. I hate it for Jamahal Hill. I hated it when Yuri Prochazka had the similar fate. But Dominic, I am gonna just say that even though this division's in a pretty tough spot with kind of getting that sustainable, championship, not necessarily a run with one person, but like that, you like to see the ebbs and flows, the guys hand off the title.
Title
you don't want to see titles being relinquished or stripped or whatever.
Yeah.
So even though this division has been struggling to kind of get that consistency, especially with its last two champions both having to do this, I still think that there's a lot of good in this light heavyweight division right now. I'm not going to focus too much. Like some of the terminology being thrown at this light heavyweight division, I think is a bit unfair. I think it's a bit harsh. It's one thing to say that the actual title picture is has been a mess since John Jones left. Like it is reality. But Dominic, now that you have this vacant title, okay, Jamahal Hill, great fighter, took out Glover Teixeira in his last fight. Yuri Prochazka, finished Glover in what was the fight of the year, and he had to relinquish his title. Like, you had the month before Jamahal Hill wins it, you had that main event between Blachowicz and Ankalaev that ended in a draw, and really nobody seemed to like that fight. But let's look at who we have right now, Dominic. You take Jamahal Hill out of the picture. Well, Yuri Prochazka appears to be ready to come back. Then you have, at the end of the month, Jan Blachowicz welcoming the former 185-pound champion Alex Pereira. You still have Ankalaev in here. Johnny Walker's surging through the ranks right now. Then you have, how about Alexander Rakic coming back? I look at a lot of these names and I go, Dominic, I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. So even though this is a huge, downer especially for Jamahal Hill, a guy with a lot of promise, and you saw the emotions pouring from him when he won the title. So I feel for him big time. But I still find myself being optimistic for the future of this division. Are you kind of in a similar boat, or is this not something you really thought about before I kind of brought it up to you?
No, I mean, I feel like this past year we've seen the talent and level of fighters in this division be the best it's been in a long time, but it's been clouded by the title relinquishes, the injuries and stuff. That's hovering over a lot of good talent and freshness in this division that we haven't had really since, before John Jones in DC, honestly. It's been a long time. So as Noah just said, all those names, and we're going to get some really good fights. I am optimistic for this division. It sucks for Jamahal. You don't see many Achilles injuries for MMA fighters as well. So I wonder how his recovery will go. Will we get him back to as good as he was? Because he's right in his prime right now. It's a shame. But yeah, Yuri's healthy and ready to come back. A huge fight in 2 weeks. And no, I just want to give you a question. Is there a chance they put the vacant title on the line in 2 weeks with Jan and Alex Pereira?
Is there a chance they do it? I think there's definitely a chance. But I am going to side with I don't believe that's what's going to happen.
You think winner versus Yuri for it?
Probably. That's probably what's going to happen. It also wouldn't surprise me if for some reason they decided to do Yuri versus Ankalaev in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, they're fresh, no fights right now. That's true.
But if you asked me what do I think is going to happen the rest of the year, I think Alex and Pereira go into that fight. It'll be highlighted as a number one contender bout.
Sure.
The winner of that, I believe, will fight Yuri for the title, whether it be at Abu Dhabi or December or whatever. And then I think Ankalaev welcomes back Alexander Rakic, assuming that, of course, Ankalaev is willing to bite that bullet, because I don't think he's going to be none too happy if, let's say, Blachowicz beats Pereira and gets that title fight.
I'll be pissed. Yeah.
Yeah. He already was threatening retirement after
I remember
the draw.
that.
which I still kind of look back on, and I feel like everybody looks at Ankalaev as being like he got robbed in that fight, and I did not remember it being that way. I thought that fight was like super close. So anyways, I guess for you, Dominic, like what let me ask you it like this. When that clock hits January 1st, 2024,
ooh,
who is going to be the UFC light heavyweight champion?
Ooh. And you can bet on those too. I wonder what the odds would be right now.
Right.
Okay. Who is it going to be? I kind of almost feel probably stronger than you that they might throw the belt on that in 2 weeks. Maybe not because they're doing the BMF. So that might throw a wrinkle in terms of like how they do the pay-per-view. So probably won't, I guess. But I think it's likely. So we do that. I think, man, there's a lot of fun matchups, huh? Like Yuri versus Alex Pereira, especially is. Whew, that's a fun ass fight. I'll still go with the Samurai Warrior right now, and Yuri Prohaska as the champ when the new year strikes.
So you think that fight in 2 weeks will have the title on the line, and the winner of that will fight Yuri by the end of the year, and Yuri takes back his title? Is that the path?
Yeah, or either they are fighting for it and Yuri wins it back, or the winner just fights Yuri for the vacant belt. I think those are the two scenarios. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll ask you another question, another tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Does Jamahal Hill ever win the light heavyweight title again?
Oh, I think he can win the title back. If it's just that injury, man. It's so many ifs. I mean, think he can.
You know, he was definitely kind of fortunate because it was unfortunate for Yuri, of course, what happened to him, but that was something that he benefited from.
Sure.
You know, he took on Glover, who was in his last fight.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if he had been matched up with Yuri Prohaska, who was making like his first title defense, you know, for all we know, Jamahal Hill would have never won the title to begin with. Yeah. So truthfully, Dominic, I don't think we'll see him win that title again. Yeah. And I hate to be that way. Kind of feels like I'm kicking a man while he's down. But I just think this division sort of feels like how I feel about men's flyweight, where I think a lot of these guys are pretty even at the top. And you could see a lot of hot potato. Like, I don't think Yuri Prohaska, even if he feels like the guy who may come out on top in this by the end of the year, I don't view him as like a guy who can be a champion for a long time. I've said this. I think he's too chaotic.
Yeah.
It means he can win on any given night, but he can lose on any given night.
For sure. Yeah. That's like a lot of these guys. It feels that way almost. I don't know if there's
it seemed like Ankalaev had the best chance to be like a long-standing champion.
Yeah.
But after some of the holes that Blachowicz exposed, I'm not sure if that's really the case anymore.
I'm really excited to see Rakic get back. If he's healthy and good, I think people sleep on how talented he is. I like this division. It's okay. Don't panic, everybody. It's okay.
I'm so excited now for. I was already excited, but Pereira Blachowicz in 2 weeks.
Massive now. That's huge.
I can't wait to preview that. I can't wait to do my research on that and rewatch those two's last few fights. Like, I'm so excited to just get into that because
I got to pose you a question.
Yeah, please do.
Real quick.
Yeah,
me and Branson, a friend of ours, went to B-Dubs Friday night, and we were talking about fights and stuff. And I was randomly just scrolling through some of the odds of the fights coming up in the future because you can look out to the end of the year on like DraftKings and stuff. And I was like, I do wonder what the odds are because I haven't looked. I'm never really seeing opening odds until like the week of is when I see the odds and stuff. But I happened to look at July 29th. If you had to guess, what do you think the odds are for Blachowicz and Alex Pereira?
Oh my God.
I just want to see what you say, and I'll give you what it was.
I'm going to say Blachowicz is a minus 135.
Ooh, okay. So you were actually almost on board. It was around, I'm remembering Alex's number specifically, so it'll give you an idea of what Jan was. Alex Pereira was a plus 120. So I think that would be like a minus 140.
40, something like that.
So you almost nailed it. For some reason, I was like shocked. I don't know why.
Did you think Blachowicz should have been a bigger favorite, or
no? I thought it would be like a pick'em, if not even Alex as a favorite.
You
I don't
really,
know why.
you've always kind of, you definitely are not that
Yeah.
high on Blachowicz compared to some people. Like, I definitely have noticed that.
And I remember, like, we've talked about how I feel like when this fight got announced, I felt very strongly that Alex would, like, start Gian. And maybe that has a part in why I was so shocked in these odds. And I still feel that Alex is going to win. I don't know. It was interesting to see those odds.
I think it's just a lot of unknown with, like, what this fight feels pretty clear in my head on, like, which route it could go. If the fight stays standing, it feels like Pereira with the less draining of a cut, bigger, more filled out. It feels like he's going to find that chin on Blachowicz and send him to the land of wind and ghost. I mean, I know Blachowicz has got the Polish power, but I don't think that he wants to get into a kickboxing fight here with Pereira. But then I would also question, Dominic, Pereira's still really not been tested with this takedown defense.
You're right.
What little we've seen has not been good.
Yeah.
And you saw what Blachowicz did to Adesanya at UFC 259.
Yeah.
Pereira will be bigger, but I think that if Blachowicz is really keen on getting this fight down and, not is able to avoid a big shot early, this could be very, very tough for Pereira.
Yeah.
We're talking 3 rounds as of now, too.
Yeah, true.
So, I just think that for Pereira to what you've seen struggle a little bit against guys trying to take him down at 185 pounds, what's a much bigger guy like Blachowicz gonna pose problem-wise?
Oh, man.
Isn't
it fun to be excited about
I mean, I will admit to you, though, like, in my head right now, and this is subject to change. It's changed before. I've flipped back and forth on fights many a times. Right now, I slightly lean Pereira.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like the opening's going to be there because I've been seeing Blachowicz, and when he gets in those when he gets in the pocket and starts throwing, he kind of leaves that chin open for that.
You can't
do
counter, it with Alex, man.
There was that video going on Twitter where it's like the left hand is wide open, like he and that's the Pereira power hand. So just saying, but just a weird week of news, mostly bad, but I definitely think that the future is bright. It's a dark day for light heavyweight, but I think the future will be much better. One fight announcement to go over. Our first fight for that Abu Dhabi card, UFC 294 on October 21st, has been announced. We had to give some shine to the flyweights, Dominic. The undefeated Muhammad Mokaev will go in defending that O on his record against Tim Elliott. What do you think about that?
That's a scrap. That is a really, really fun fight. Obviously, Mokaev is known for how great of a wrestler and grappler he is, but Tim Elliott, very scrappy, good submissions. I'll always go back to that fight with Demetrius Johnson and how close it was. I mean, he's a very talented fighter, even up there in age now, mid to late 30s. To be doing what he's doing at 125 is still impressive. I really like this step up. It's a proper move up, I feel like, for Mokaev to get a nice top 10 ranked guy, or Tim Elliott's like on the outside looking in, if not. So I like that fight. The first official fight announcement for Abu Dhabi. And now I just feel like they're going to keep trickling in day by day. We're going to be getting the big ones, the main events coming in soon. And this is starting that trend.
Yeah, I have a feeling this means this fight will not be on the main card because I think they're going to announce the whole main card. Like I said, Dana at the press conference after 290, I think it was, said they like to coordinate with Abu Dhabi when they announce these cards. So this fight sneaking out makes me feel like this is going to be the curtain jerker, and it's going to piss me off.
And Dana's going to have one of them special announcement videos.
But yeah, there is a lot of intrigue for this fight. I think if this would have been Mokaev's next fight before his last one, I think people would be riding a lot higher on Mokaev. But it seems like they're starting to become those detractors from Mokaev. And as young and as much of a phenom as he has looked at times, it's also been slightly underwhelming at times. It's kind of my dilemma I've had with Ian Gary, with his early UFC run. So definitely a test for Mokaev. And yeah, you always love to bring up that Demetrius Johnson fight for Tim Elliott. I remember you watching that in our,
in the dorm, man.
dorm room, and you were just
Yeah.
like, dude, Demetrius Johnson's being given a fight right now.
Yeah. Oh,
It's like this
man.
Tim Elliott guy. I'm like, who the fuck is Tim Elliott?
Yeah, exactly.
But let's move on to Blazin Bets, Dominic.
Let's just get it over with, Noah. Let's rip it off.
Yeah. What was your finals tally for this card?
Minus 1.74. So, hey, you won.
Yeah, like I'm happy to
big.
win. I'm happy to win. I'm up 6-4. There's nothing I want to see more, especially after last night, than Dominic having to eat
some
Blazing wings. Look, all's fair in love and war, right? That's what they say. And I've been kind of prodding Dominic. I've been kind of talking my shit. And it's hard to realize that you're really not in control of your own destiny.
Yeah. Dude.
Dominic has the control. He is the man in charge when he is tweeting out I have been like, yo, Dominic, happy to let him take over to social media. It kind of frees me up on those fight cards, right? Like, I've been happy to kind of allow him to do that. But also, I'm realizing that now I'm not in control. Because Dominic, in this moment, was able to completely derail what could have been a perfect night.
Yeah.
The 3-unit parlay is going to be the biggest. Like
that's
just. I played around with my units, and every time I do, I get reminded of why I shouldn't do that.
1 unit, that's all we're doing.
Yeah, the minus 3.5 just hurt. I mean, I did have a parlay that also had Jack money line, so like technically the loss for that fight wasn't as bad, but then to have Holly Holm lose in the main event, it just hurts. And now, like, when I closed my eyes at night, last night, all I could see was Noah is on a heater right now. That's all I could see. And it like scares me awake in a sweat. I'm looking ahead to UFC London, but man, but I also feel like I'm trapped in this moment. Like I won the battle, but it feels like Dom has won the war in some ways. I'm up 6-4, but I feel like this is going to be in my head going in the next week, and I'm just going to be off my game, and it's not going to be good. Dominic, your thoughts on your slip for this week?
Yeah, 3-5, like I said, minus 1.74. It was just one of those cards going in that it felt like the bets weren't going to be good. They weren't going to be good. I needed to just have a better negative week than Noah. That's what I felt like going in. But then Noah was having that good week, and I know I may or may not have been a part of ruining it. If you believe in the jinxes, then I absolutely botched his night. I'm glad we got to lose together on Holly Holm at least. It made me feel a little bit better about myself. But, it was a tough week. It was a tough card to get good reads. Like, I felt like there were lines and favorites that I felt were solid, and then others where I was just kind of taking a chance and paid for it. And London's coming up. I keep cutting, I've cut the lead to 1 now a couple of times, but I can't tie it back up. I can't get it back to even. And if I never get it back to even, I cannot win the challenge at the end of the year. So I'm down 2 again. I got to try and tie this thing up. London card's going to be interesting because on the surface, compared to the 2 from last year, much more quiet, and it's kind of sneaking in that they're going back. So it's another card that's going to require some digging. It's an early card. It's not going to be easy.
I'll be curious to see what the fan reception's like in London too, Dominic, because I've heard tickets are not selling well for this event. So
I mean, outside of Tom being in the main event, I mean, the card's nowhere near the other 2 from last year.
I think Molly probably should
Molly's
not be in the co-main, but she is. So
yeah,
like she obviously, I don't know how much. It's hard for me to really gauge the. Like right now, I don't know how much everybody over there is like dying to see Molly, fight. It seemed like before the Blanchfield fight, everybody was like talking about it, but I don't know how much that ebbs and flows with the momentum and stuff. I don't know, but it does feel like a quaint.
It's a shame
card.
They couldn't get lead on over there.
Yeah. It is. With that, let's move on to closing statements. Dominic, the point of the show where me and Dominic talk about anything and everything, MMA related or not. So, Dominic, any closing statements to send us off into the week?
I got to update you and everybody else on some bad history because this year, as of Saturday morning, me and the Battling 4 Bogey crew have officially been rained out 2 times in this calendar year of 2023. Prior to this year and the other 4 years we've all been playing together, have never had to leave a course early due to rain, and it's happened twice this year. We get out, Noah, yesterday morning, beautiful, nice and cool, 70s, a little overcast, no humidity. We did get paired up with a random. Shout out to you, Bill, if you somehow are listening to this show. And we get out there, we play the first hole, everything's good, and then all of a sudden, into the distance, as we're driving to hole number 2, I'm like, what's that? What's that in the sky? It's the horn, lightning spotted in the area. We have to travel back to the clubhouse. 76 people, I feel like, crowded into under one tent, parked the golf carts, and one by one, we all just mosey back to our cars and load up the golf equipment. So it's a sad day when you have this plans with the bros to go play golf and you're out there and then it just gets sucked out from underneath of you. So it was deflating, turned it into quite of a lazy Saturday, to be quite honest, into the fights last night. But yeah, 2 times so far this year now, rained out the BFB crew.
Yeah, I'm really sad for you, Dominic. I hope you could tell in my tone. But when will be the next recording session for you guys?
We're looking in for one this week sometime. We should get hopefully 2 or 3.
So wait, when you went yesterday, was Branson with you?
Branson was with us, and then we had a random paired.
So we had Branson that was going to be on a recording. Feels like it's been forever. And
that was in the cards.
The gods said, nope, that dude's got red hair. He is not recording with you.
Yep. Dom and JP, see you next week, basically.
Yeah. So when's the next one? Sorry.
Hopefully, we might even be playing a little evening on tomorrow on Monday, but sometime this week we're going to get out and get some stuff going.
Well, let me just say as your friend that I hope your next time out there, I hope you do not think about what I text in the group about shanking every drive. Yeah. I hope that thought does not cross your mind as you are, going on that backswing to hit it. I hope that not even for a second, Dominic, don't even have my voice creep into your head and go like, I hope you shank the fuck out of this. Please do not do that. I want you to keep a clear mind, a full heart, even though there will be a lot of pressure,
Oh, yeah.
Just with that recording going on, it's going up to dozens of people on YouTube. Like, don't even for a second think about all that. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I'm envisioning happening? Yeah. No, in Waterboy, water sucks. It really, really sucks. And he's seeing everybody's faces on the football field. I feel like I'm going to tee up my shot. I'm going to get my practice swing. I'm going to look down to line up. And instead of a ball, it's going to be your head. And all I'm going to hear is you saying, you're going to shank it. You're going to shank it. You're going to shank it. And then I'm going to hit, and they're going to go right. They're going to go left, anywhere but down the line. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I really do. I hope you can tell by my tone that this is not a joke.
You want me to succeed.
I really want you to succeed. It only helps me, right? This is part of my channel too. So I want to see good content. I do not want to see you fuck up. I hope you don't. That thought does not even cross your mind, please.
Yeah. Yes.
And you'll have to update us on how that goes for you.
You will be updated.
My closing statement, my leg is asleep.
Can't feel it. You might not be able to get up from the studio.
Yep. Well, no, it's the third leg.
You okay?
It seemed so funny when it was coming out, and then it just.
Well,
my actual leg is asleep. I will.
Yeah.
I'll have to. Yeah. My name's Noah Baker. That's Dominic Sleep. We are but just 2 of the below average Joes, and we'll see you guys on Friday.